How's it going, guys? I'm Danny, and if you don't know, I stream on Twitch probably a little bit too much. Definitely a little bit too much. But part of what I do there is I will check forms for people who either submit it on my Discord or they send me a YouTube link in some way. I will check it on Twitch, and then I'll highlight it and tag them in the Discord post. But I thought I would start uploading those to YouTube. So that's what these are. This is a few form checks from the other night. If you'd like to get your form check, the Discord link is in the description. You can just drop it, join the Discord, drop your YouTube link. I just need one throw filmed from the side. The video shouldn't be more than about 10 seconds long. And yeah, I will take a look at it on stream and get back to you. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you can learn from some of the things that I'm trying to explain to other people, or if you have other tips that could help them, definitely let me know down in the comments. Yeah, I think that's everything I needed to say. Okay, roll the clip. Whew. Maybe I'll do a transition there. Maybe I'll just make myself look like an idiot. Who knows? All right, so let's take a look. That's the wrong scene. This is the right scene. Okay, so first, this should be Crimson Shin. And he says this is him and his buddy, so I don't know which one this is. All right, I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker through some of these because I think I took way too long last time. And I explained some things over and over again. Okay, the first thing I notice is a little bit big of an X step. You don't really want to be turning around backwards at this point. You want to mostly be sideways. I'm wearing headphones when I don't need to again. You want to mostly be sideways for this part of your throw. And then this is the part where you turn backwards. But because you turned backwards early, now you're turned back forwards now, and you can't turn properly. Anyway, part of the problem is that your toes are farther apart than your heels. You're in a very open stance, and that pushes your weight back over your heels, and it makes it just really hard to get any power coming from your lower body. But as far as upper body, I do like that you're not really rounding that bad. It doesn't look like. Your wrist is a little bit open, but you're bending your elbow. You're coming in mostly into the power pocket. It looks like you've got the feel for it. Your arm extends out to the release point. I would try and keep your wrist more neutral. You don't want to curl your wrist. This is something that I think it was an older way to teach, I think. I'm not sure, though. To curl your wrist to try and get more snap on it. That's not a thing. Don't do that. But you're kind of doing the opposite. You're opening your wrist. You want it to be fairly flat, fairly neutral. Here, I'll hold the disc. You want your wrist to be pretty neutral like that. And you can see here, the biggest thing is your weight shift and your brace. And it looks like you might be kind of rotating in front of the disc a little bit, but see how your wrist here is kind of open? You're gonna wanna work on keeping your wrist flat and keeping your weight more over your toes so you stay sideways to the target longer. Next, we have either Crimson Shin's friend or the real Crimson Shin. Let us explore. Digging the socks. Can't even tell what's on them, but they look cool. Kind of the same thing with the big X steps. Your foot's pointed pretty far back. See how here your X step is pretty big. And notice that taking a big X step, this is kind of something I talked about last time, it puts your feet in front of your body. You want to try and keep your body over your feet. See how you're still kind of leaning backwards here? And that big X step means that your back foot is backwards, so you can't push off it as effectively. I do like that you're not taking too big of a last step. Your reach back is nice and low. Hoping to see your left arm come tight to your side. Not really. It looks like when... okay, first off, timing is pretty good. You're not reaching back early. You're kind of reaching down and then reaching full extension whenever your front foot touches the ground. You're setting it down on the ball of your foot. That's really good. You're not taking too big of a step. You're not really rounding. But it looks like when someone was teaching you how to throw, they described starting a lawnmower, which is what you get a lot when people are muscling. Because if you look here, the power that you're getting into your shot is you're not using your arm extending. You're just kind of flinging it from the peak of the reach back, which is a lot of times what happens when people start throwing in there. They think like starting a lawnmower. So basically, you want to think of the disc extending or disc coming into the power pocket and extending while you're rotating. I know I've taught pull on a straight line. I taught that for like a few years. I don't really teach that anymore. It's more of a mental thing to help prevent rounding. It's prescriptive, right? It's like a specific thing that I'll say to try and help someone who's rounding, but for the most part, the line that the disc is on should be straight into here and then out to the release point. But what you're doing is you're kind of just eating it out to the release point. You're not necessarily rounding, you're just not pulling the disc in and taking advantage of your elbow. Your elbow is the most important joint, I think, unless somebody proves me wrong. I think it's pretty important. You want to make sure your elbow gets to 90 degrees and the disc is close to you, because a lot of the power comes from the disc moving away from you really quickly while you're rotating. Something that might help, if you chop somebody off right here, okay, they wouldn't be able to throw, but imagine from here up, the upper body of an ideal throw looks like this, okay? The disc starts in front of you, you reach back, pull it in, and then out to the release. That's all it does. Everything that your lower body is doing, everything your core is doing, is going into your elbow, going from here to here as fast as possible. Your upper body doesn't need to this. Your upper body doesn't need to any sort of thing. It's just here to there. And I'm on the left side, but some people might be closer to the middle. I should probably be closer to the middle, honestly. But yeah, so sorry. Solutions to how you're throwing. That's probably me. I get too rambly. You're going to want to keep your left arm tight to your side. If it's away from your body, it's slowing you down. But if you keep it tight, you'll be rotating a little bit faster. Here, the disc should be closer to your chest. You want to focus on pulling the disc in before extending it out. Because that gives your elbow more range of motion. So practical things, try and stay a little bit more sideways in your X step, but mostly focus on pulling the disc in tighter and then pushing it out to the release point, keeping your elbow up a little bit higher and keeping your left arm tight to your side. All right, next one is after Crimson. This is Aman. Come on, man. And he says, advice on gaining another 50 feet or so on your drives. Let's look. Well, I don't know that I don't usually give like concrete distances, because good form is good form. It usually gets over 400 feet, but you know, it depends on the build. I like a little bit of Josh Anthon kind of. The footwork is lots of steps. Nothing wrong with that. People hate on Josh Anthon. He's got a really clean pull. Okay, so here's something I'm noticing. Before you're even X-stepping, you're kind of turning around backwards. Like I said earlier, you don't want to be backwards to the target. You want to stay sideways as much as possible. The only part where you turn backwards is your front leg turns backwards as it goes to the plant foot. You want to stay sideways for the most part. If you think of staying sideways, and then as you reach back, usually that'll turn your hips and that'll plant your front foot in the right spot too. Reaching back a little bit early. You want to peak your reach back when your front toe touches the ground, so that your arm and the disc, or not your arm and the disc, your arm and your leg are kind of opposite. That'll help you stay more balanced, and it also stops the disc from moving. Because if you just reach the disc back and then move it straight forward, it doesn't have a chance to move. But if you reach back and then take a step, it can either lift or it can go across your body either way, or stuff like that. Because see how you have to hold it back there the whole time? And as you're throwing, okay, so your power in your shot right now is coming right out of your shoulder. This is known as rounding, because you're spinning and your arm is just kind of out here at the end of your shoulders, I guess. And just by virtue of spinning and doing this, it's throwing the disc. That's not nearly as strong as focusing all of the energy into your elbow. If the energy is going into your elbow can be directed by your shoulder, so you're going to be more consistent, and it's a shorter lever, so it's going to move a lot faster. It's like trying to swing a pencil versus swinging a hockey stick. So the power that you're getting right now is, I mean, 350 is not bad, but it's all coming from your shoulder, and it's From what I understand, talking to Seth Muncie a little bit, I don't know perfectly. I'm not a medical professional. Do not quote me on this, but I think it's harder on your shoulder too. So you're gonna wanna try and lead with your elbow rather than your shoulder. It's a hard habit to break. But my best advice is to do the one-step drill where you start with a disc in front of you, and then you reach back as you take a step, and then focus on getting back to this position. Focus on bringing the disc to the middle of your chest with your hand on the outside of it. This is the position you want to get back into with your elbow out front and your elbow up. That is what's going to get you the most power. That's a very common problem, though. Rounding is incredibly common. But if you're getting 350 using all shoulder, imagine how far you're going to get when you take advantage of your elbow. Smashing. No, not the dude from... Is it Rugrats? He's like, smashing. I don't know, I wasn't allowed to watch that show because Angelica was mean. My parents didn't want me to learn how to be mean. I learned how anyway. Anyway, here we go. This is the last one from Wes. I like it. He's controlled, slow and balanced. This is good. Wild thornberries. That's it. Thanks, Thomas. Okay. Thing that I've talked about and everybody else is a little bit of a big X step. Let me demonstrate X step stuff real quick, just so I can shut up about it. I made a whole video on it, but I'm gonna rehash it real quick. Your X step should not be a deliberate step. You don't want to go right, left, right. It's not like that. That ends up with the open stance. Your X step should be small. It should be right, left, right. That gets you a lot more balanced, keeps your weight better over your feet, and it lets you push off your back foot better into your front leg. Also, if you couldn't see any of that, I'm messing with camera settings. I turned down the gain and turned up the exposure. I don't know if it makes a difference. Looks really contrasty. Okay, I'll shut up about X step now. Okay. Let's move on. Reach back timing is a little bit off. It's really common to reach back as you X step, and you're not doing that. You're just reaching back early. So you want to reach back as your front foot extends. So, once again, switching back to this. As you're coming out of your X step, it should be there. Because then you're in a balanced position. Boom. That's actually kind of how to do the one-step drill. You start here, weight over your toes, and just boom, throw it. And then, okay, back to this. Also, a little bit of a big last step. Could be a little bit smaller, but no, I don't think so. I think it's fine. I'm dumb. Don't worry about what I say. For that, like 5 seconds. Everything else, worry about it. Be very worried. Okay, this looks like, based on the angle of the disc and the angle of your shoulder right here, this is a really good power pocket, by the way. Pulling the disc in, got your hand on the outside, your wrist is neutral. This is really good. But from the angle of the disc, it looks like you're about to launch a spike hyzer way up in the sky. It comes out on a little bit of hyzer. I like that your left arm is tight to your side. Do you say anything about how far you're throwing? Because I'm guessing 1,000,000. One thing that I am noticing is I do think your step is a little bit big. Besides the X step thing to get your back leg better engaged, it also looks like you're pulling your release to the right. Right? And this is something I talked about with the very first guy, but it's kind of different. Your reach back to your release point should be out here. Right? Because then your shoulder, then your arm extends faster. It goes from here to there. It can do that really fast. Whereas if you try and pull it straight through all the way to the release point, then you end up pulling it in, and then it takes a lot longer to get out there, and it's going to end up going slower. Also, your elbow is kind of down as you're pulling. As you're pulling it up here, the disc kind of up here. Your elbow's down here. That is great for big hyzers. But if you're trying to throw a control, like a flat shot or a little bitty hyzer flip or stuff like that, you want to have your elbow higher. Because then you're going to be able to get that kind of an angle. Or if it's a little bit up, then you get kind of that kind of an angle. You know, you get a lot more control over your angles if your elbow's up higher. Generally, you get more power as well. Because the farther away from your body the elbow is, the more centrifugal force. I guess. I don't know. I just made that up, but we'll see. We'll see if someone corrects me in the comments. Anyway, that is all the form checks that I have for today. Thanks for sending in your clips, everyone who did. Also, if I post this on YouTube, thank you for watching. Subscribe. Come check out Twitch. And yeah. I guess slow is smooth, smooth is far. If it's for YouTube. But for Twitch, we're still out here. I'm going to go play some games now. Okay, sick.